All right, now this is an interesting one, you guys. So I told you earlier that I was posting a poll, okay? So let's just start with that. The poll here, do you believe the Idaho 4 Brian Kohberger case and crime can be completed in the current time frame suggested? 10 to 12 minutes, case study related. Now, interesting. We have 20% of our viewers. This is only 54 votes. I want to be clear about that. Normally we get hundreds and hundreds of response. This is 54 votes, but we have 20% saying yes, 61% saying no, 6% saying other, 7% saying maybe, and 6% saying, is it Friday today? But, okay, so I think it's fair to say at least the people that have voted so far, the mass majority believe that it's a no, right? Well, just recently, 4 days ago, we have a quadruple homicide by knife.
It happened 4 days ago?
4 days ago.
Where?
Yeah. So, quadruple homicide by knife in the Bronx. So, this is in New York. So, we have at Beach and 22nd Street in Far Rockaway, the Bronx, okay? A Courtney Gordon was living on his family's couch. And he had recently gone through a separation with his wife. I don't know if that was the cause and maybe he wasn't handling it well. I'm not too sure. But one of the important factors here is that multiple family members stated that there was some mental instability going on here with him. He was scary. People were afraid of him. They were afraid to ask him to do things. They were afraid to kick him out. They were afraid to all these things, okay? He got very aggressive very quick, making threats, raising his voice, and scaring people. So 6 months ago, he lived with an aunt. I believe it's a sister to his mom, and similar things were happening. She kicked him out, said, I can't handle this anymore. So he bounced around from homeless shelters, back and forth, you know. And then another family member let him come stay. This family member had kids there and stuff like that, and he was living on the couch. Now, some weird details, and I haven't really hashed these out yet, but I wanted to share this story with you guys, I think he put cameras up in their house on the inside. Yeah. But the other possibility is the family was so scared of him, they put cameras up. I haven't yet confirmed which of the two it is. It's one of the two. Both are equally bad here. But either they put cameras up because they were scared of him. At that point, I would have just kicked him out personally, but you know.
Yeah.
Or he put them up. There's clearly some paranoia going on here.
Yeah, clearly.
They all locked their doors at night, or when they were in their rooms, they locked their doors. Like, this is how scared they were of this guy. So, this guy, Courtney Gordon, 38 years old, ends up horribly ending 4 family members and wounding 2 officers. So this is the situation that occurred 4 days ago. They receive a 911 call.
Okay.
And that 911 call says, we need help. He's killing my family members. Mm-hmm. All right. This person was later identified as a 16-year-old family member. She called 911 and jumped out the window, a 16-year-old cousin.
Oh, my gosh.
Yep, the teen jumped out the window at home, according to sources, and it was unclear if she sustained any injuries during the massacre. So I couldn't find any details out whether she got any injuries or anything like that. But so the cops are called, right? Well, the cops show up there. and they get out of their car. They go to approach the house. They have the address and everything. And a man's calmly walking out. The cops ask him in a nice way, in like a trauma response type of way, hey, you know, we received this call. Can you tell us what's going on? And he says, no. They ask him what his name is, and he mumbles something, and in 10 seconds, grabs a knife, pulls it out like from his back pocket, slits one officer across the throat, and stabs the other one in the head. In a matter of 10 seconds, okay? One of the officers grabs his gun during this, returns fire, and kills the guy, ends him, okay? They go into the house and find a horrible scene. Obviously, I don't think it's those two officers. I think other officers do. They find a horrible scene. Outside, they find an 11-year-old girl. On the inside, they find a 12-year-old boy. There is also a 44-year-old woman and a 30-year-old man, all dead from knife wounds.
So how long did it take him?
Everything that I can tell, the police report isn't out because this is so new. It was a matter of minutes. He switched into rampage mode and started killing everyone. There's no evidence of restraint. It was just one after another.
Did he have bushy eyebrows and wear a dicky suit and Vans?
I know, right? I know.
And did he escape without any blood on him?
Right. But I think this is a good argument, though, that it can be done.
Oh, I know for absolute fact it can be done. The issue is leaving without leaving a trail.
Right, but that's not what this survey was. So
Yeah, I
don't think it's obvious. I don't think most people believe it can be done. If you do...
No, I don't think most people think that. I absolutely don't think most people think that, which is why it's so interesting, as character analysis pointed out, that the 4chan poster called that out. That it was done in such a short amount of time.
Knew.
Before the PCA. Before anybody had any idea.
Before anyone knew. And
there
that's
was
why
no timeline.
It adds value to it, right. But what's interesting here is, okay, so I really want to point out some of the similarities. Before we get to that point, though, I just want to give best wishes to this family. This is
seriously
horrible.
Yeah.
And if you just think about it, this family invited him over to try and help him out and lend him their couch while he got his life together. And for one reason or another, whether it is a diagnosable mental illness or he just wasn't able to cope with whatever was going on in his life, it turned into this. So it was 4 people, maybe 5, you guys. It might actually be a 5th person. There was one person that was in critical condition, and they weren't sure if she was going to make it. So everyone he touched almost or is gone. And then the 2 police officers outside were in critical condition. They were in the hospital for a couple days. They were released on Sunday. So I'm sorry. So this is 6 days ago. This is 6 days ago, not 4. I'm mistaken. But
it was on Saturday the 2nd of December?
Yep. So, looking into this, okay, what are the similarities here? Because, one, I don't think people think this is possible. I do not think that the time frame seems possible, all right? Now, what he had was a steak knife. Literally a steak knife.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Committed this kind of crime and heinous act in this short a time with a steak knife.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so if we're looking at this in comparison to the Idaho 4, you have a K-bar knife, a knife that is designed and made for killing, versus a knife that is not meant for anything combat related.
Yeah, that's the knife that'll break off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this guy was able to do this. plus hurt multiple other officers. So it was a total of 7 people severely harmed from this steak knife, which makes the theory around the K-bar and not breaking, not getting dull. There's all these questions around it. It's a given, in my opinion. I feel
Agreed.
I feel like the K-bar could have gone through 100 people, and I know that sounds harsh, but it's true. I think it could have been used to harm 100 people if you wanted to. And you wouldn't have to worry about breaking or not working or not doing whatever you wanted it to do. You know what I mean? Now, the amount of time is really important. So let's look at this objectively, okay? We have one situation here where we have a guy who knew this house inside and out. He had been living there for months already on the couch, and knew where people were, how they acted, where they hung out, and for whatever reason, he flipped and grabbed a knife, and he had the upper hand. All that information's important because it gives them the upper hand in a situation where they're trying to overpower somebody. Now, when we look at the Idaho 4 case, right, we aren't sure if there is any pre-existing knowledge of the layout of the house. We aren't sure if that suspect, whoever you believe it is, knew how many people were in that house. We don't know if they knew they were asleep. We don't know what they knew.
Right.
Right?
Right.
But this was done in under 10 minutes. This one is at 10 minutes or a couple minutes before. I think it's very possible, using this real-life situation as correlating evidence.
Yeah.
I really, really, really do.
No, I absolutely think that a 10-minute time frame is possible.
So
I just don't know if I believe it's possible with all the additional things of not leaving a trace.
with the current storyline, yeah, I agree with you. Maybe there's something else to this.
Yeah.
Maybe, you know, going down the line of thinking that Brian Kohberger is guilty, and when he was arrested, he asked, am I the only one who was arrested? Did Brian Kohberger commit this and somebody else drove him? You know what I mean? Like, there's other possibilities out there that you could come up with where it's not Brian Kohberger's car.
Or did Kohberger drive the person there?
Yeah.
And the person
Fair.
could have been wearing gloves and touched something with Brian's DNA on it and then transferred it with the gloves to the sheath.
Well, yeah, and yeah, that, or even it's trace DNA. If Brian Kohberger drove that person, all that knife sheath would have to do is be sitting in the car. That's it. That's all it takes to have trace DNA move around. So yes, there are other theories out there. And again, I've said this already once tonight. I am not trying to prove Brian Kohberger is innocent or guilty. That's not my interest. My concern is that we don't have a strong case one way or the other, that either we're going to have a guilty person get off and be out back in the streets, or we're going to have an innocent person convicted while the real guilty person is still out there. You know what I mean? It's a fail no matter way you look at it. No matter the way you look at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is.
So the other question is how could somebody do this in this short of time and not tire out?
Adrenaline.
I agree. One argument that could be made here, though, when comparing these two, is that mental instability or a bout of insanity can override a lot of those getting tired. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it does.
It's like super strength.
It does override those things.
Yeah. So in the case of the Bronx, is this situation not as comparable because this person was mentally unstable versus somebody in the Idaho 4 case that was controlled, intentional, planned, meticulous? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Interesting.
It is interesting.
Interesting.
It is really interesting looking at it that way.
It is.
I mean, this is literally someone who just lost their mind in this case.
I know.
So it is kind of hard in that respect to compare them.
It is. These aren't perfectly comparable.
No.
But what's interesting is that a crime done in a similar way, in a similar fashion, in a similar time, was completed here. Even if some of the minor details are different.
Okay.
That's important.
It is.
That's really important. Because it shows a real-life possibility, not a theory around the Idaho 4 case.
Right.
So.
The cameras, that threw me for a loop. There was some weird parallels there for a minute and stuff that we've seen online with this case where I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to find out more about this. But this was 7 people. 4 of them ended in a similar time frame.
Yeah. The poor family.
Yeah. You know what I'm interested about? Is this something that we're going to see the prosecution bring up as an example?
Oh, like see it can be done?
Yep. If the defense has an argument saying, hey, you have incompetent cops, and those incompetent cops are trying to create a story that isn't possible, is the prosecution going to be able to take this example and say, hey, you're going off the deep end there. Look at this. This just happened. And this person did it in less time.
Yeah, maybe. Interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious what you guys think, though, because when I'm looking at this, I still have questions around it, though. I still have questions because clearly this person wasn't trying to control DNA. Clearly this person was a psychotic break. I don't know if I would classify this as premeditated. My heart goes out to the family members that are still around that have to deal with this. That really sucks, but
that's rough. That's hard. That's so hard, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, they were reaching out to try to help him through like a hard time, and that just adds this element to.
It's not only that too. So when they noticed he wasn't doing well mentally, they reached out and had a professional come to the home, and he turned them away and said, "I don't need help. I don't have anything wrong with me. It's them." Yeah,
that's why I know some states are good with this, but some are not. Some make it hard where, like, you can't, like, I know in California they have the 5150 system, you know. Not everywhere has that. Mm-hmm. That is a state thing.
Yeah, it is.
So, I mean, I don't know how New York works, but you need a way to be able to admit people forcefully when they're not in a state of mind where they know that they're not in reality. They can't tell they're not in reality, and they are a harm. They're a danger
to themselves or others.
And you can't allow them to turn away mental health help. Like, there has to be a way to force an assessment, and if that assessment comes back as, this person is a harm to themselves or others, you should be able to forcefully admit them.
I agree.
In some situations, I understand it could get dicey, but, I mean, in the majority of cases, like the case I'm about to talk about, that would have helped a lot.
Yeah.
People would have not died. People would still be here.
Yeah. I agree, and I get it. So, I'm curious, you guys.
Yeah.
Do you think this proves that it can be done? Does this make it more likely for you? Does it make it less likely for you? Do you think there's something else going on with this? Because remember, I feel like there's some things in here that make it a little bit easier, but there's also some things in here that make it a little bit harder, like a complete and total understanding of the layout of the house, but steak knife.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, dude, steak knife, for real.
Yeah. And there were 2 kids and a woman, and then a 30-year-old man.
I wonder what kind of quality we're talking about here with the steak knife.
I mean, it just looks like a regular steak knife. Yeah, I've seen a picture of it.
Because there's pretty cheapy ones, and then there's, like, some that are pretty near indestructible.
Yeah. Well, after all this, it was still intact, so.
That's wild.
I know. I'm most curious what you guys think, though.
Yeah.
How do you feel about it? Let us know.
Yeah, let us know.